John Elliott, welcome to the podcast, mate. Great to have you on. Do you mind giving us a bit of a rundown about yourself and your background and guess what led you up until this point today?
I've probably got one of the most strangest LinkedIn bios that you've had from a guest. So I'm a insurance broker turned camel adventurer, the captain of the Australian camel handball team, and CEO of Elliott Insurance, the green broker, and all trades cover.
It, it's a funny profile, a lot happening. So I guess in terms of walk us through the early days of when you started the company and how you went about it.
Yeah, so I was a young fellow when I started the place up at 25. I suppose I had a bit of a frustration that the corporates that I was working for would make these big, broad, sweeping decisions when it came to servicing SME clients, where there wasn't much profit in them for them. So instead of trying to find efficiencies in the way that they serviced them, they'll just increase the fees across the board, make these broad sweeping. We need to earn this minimum amount of them. So um, I thought there's probably a bit more onus or responsibility on the business to find efficiencies to drive profits in there, as opposed to just passing all that responsibility onto the client. So I literally left, walked across the road, hired a little bit of office space, and thought I'd give it a crack. That was back in 2008. So literally from a ground up kind of start. I pulled out a bit of money out of the mortgage. And that was enough to get the computer, the website up, business registered, and just probably had about four or five businesses that I knew. They started there and slowly kind of grew up over the next 10 years. So we ended up making a couple of acquisitions and stuff along the way, but it was, yeah, very much a learn as you go kind of process, which I'm sure many people are very, very familiar with when it comes to those first few years.
Yeah, totally. So I guess there's been a lot of growth since then in those acquisitions. So I guess in the early days, what were some of the things that you did in the business that enabled you to scale up?
Yeah, look, we had quite an old group of insurance broking owners. When I say an old group, the average age of a insurance broking principal is 61. In those first few years, the industry was doing seminars on the importance of having a website, not how to utilize it. So one of the ways that we drove a lot of efficiency in was just finding groups of clients that were all asking a very similar question and all required a very similar answer. And that started us off into the trade space. So we launched the All Trades Cover brand, and we were one of the first quote and bind systems servicing that market. And that was our first kind of run of growth where we came through. And because of the efficiencies in the processing and making that transactional friction reduced, we were able to offer it at a price point that just onboarded about 2 or 3 thousand clients pretty quickly.
So in terms of the growth as well, so those acquisitions, I guess, it was, you grew quite fast and to a large size up until 2018, 2019, where you decided to step away, which we'll get to. I guess in terms of those acquisitions, what was the thought process behind those?
So I suppose once you find the efficiencies, you're looking for more to throw down the chute. I wouldn't say they were all smart acquisitions at the start. So like I said, I was learning as I went. We had a couple of good ones and a couple of poor acquisitions along the way. So the acquisitions where we were just looking to get numbers on and just grow, and that was the thought process behind it, did not go well. The ones that went well is where we looked at where we were providing actual value in that transactional process and started to do a couple of targeted acquisitions for books that were heavy in our related kind of field. So I think you try and sometimes prove the concept a little bit outside of your lane a little bit too much, and we did that a couple of times to our detriment. And I suppose it's definitely the lessons from that has very much changed what we're doing now, 10 years later.
Yeah, nice. So in terms of now, where is the business at today, and I guess how is it different from where it was 5, 10 years ago?
Yeah, well, I suppose we touched on the camel thing. It was basically in 2018, as you mentioned, hit a point in the business where I wanted to go off and experience another adventure. So I put my company under management, and for 5 years went off on a trek around Australia. And I returned to the business in 2022. And so when I say I was hands off, the day that I returned back to the business, I opened up, logged in for the first time, saw 87,000 emails, literally 87,000 and change, and went Control A, delete, I'm back. So clean slate. But it was a very interesting process, Alex, because I had a chance to see what systems in the business survived, what didn't. And I came back to a team that was, burnt out, running off, broken systems, constantly in fear of, losing staff. So, bad recruitment kind of policy where we were just throwing staff at an issue to try and, fix some of the burnout that some of the staff were having. So they were caught in this loop of someone walking away and then quickly making a placement that wasn't quite right, and then they would work away. So we were just burning through in that mid-tier staff range quite a bit. And I sat in the business initially from January through to June, and I let the team that was running it finish out their financial year. And I was just a participant and an observer in the business whilst I was trying to formulate how are we going to address this, and not just address it, how are we going to get the company back to that strong growth, building systems for the future, and what does that plan look like? So I think it's not it's a bit of a rare situation that people get a chance to walk away from their business and then come back and see what survived and what didn't. What systems had you built that you thought would be resilient that weren't? Who's still there? Who's not? So I learned a lot through that process. So we came up. I came up with a 3-year plan. A lot of these issues that we wanted to fix and turn into a strength, they're not overnight issues. And first of all, was our systems. Looking at the broken workflow systems and people not knowing where things are at, people feeling like they're a bit behind, and I think that was in turn creating a lot of the burnout and a lot of the stressful situations where work is being rushed last minute. So we addressed the plan over the 3 years to replace every single system within our tech stack. Quite a big process because some of them, we've had for 16 years. And we managed to complete that within the first 18 months. And now we're adding further levels of customization to it. So we're on that pathway and journey now. And the other thing is we wanted to have a stronger leadership team that was ready to go along with that change. We had some great people in here, but the leadership was a bit, I suppose, pulling in a few different directions in the company at that point in time. So we did something a little bit outside of the box there. We got an in-house company psychologist. So I looked at any of the successful kind of teams from a sporting point of view, and I thought, name one AFL team that doesn't have an in-house individual and team psychologist working with the individuals, but also with the team to, I suppose, work on that collective consciousness. And I thought, that's how we're going to get this company led through what's going to be quite a difficult process over these 3 years. We're going to change the way that everyone works, every system they're comfortable with, the way they're doing the job. I could have the best system that I have there to roll out, but the people will decide whether they adopt it and whether it's a success or a failure. So the people are going to look to other people in the organization to be led through this. So we brought in Boris, our spiritual guide, and we started to build on a group of 6 people within the organization to be leading us through this change. It really changed the dynamic in the company, Alex, because I could go into the boardroom and I could give the most motivational speech and talk about these amazing systems and how good the future is. But that speech or that meeting will be made or broken around the water cooler as soon as everyone walks out. And it only takes a couple of people to go, oh, that's a load of hog shit, or, and to dismiss it, and that will spread through, it'll be so easy to dismiss. But with that strong leadership group, and we've all kind of grown massively, it changed that conversation around the water cooler. And we just started to notice an exponential adoption of these systems. So we're literally only 2 years into this plan. And I think one of the other big switches that we did, I come from a strong sales background. That's how I grew the company. And I think a lot of business owners will be there, like I am the face of the business. I'm going to go out, I'm going to promote it. And then your company gets to a certain size and it's a bit hard for that one individual to start feeding, the whole entire sales funnel. And so I've always lent pretty heavily into the sales, high commissions, good incentive structures. And if I was going to get this company to start focusing on the systems and the processes, not the sales, I'm sending mixed messages with commission structures and sales incentives. And if anything, the new systems or the change in way of doing things will just be something that's considered a hindrance on, the way to their bonuses. So we removed all sales targets in the company. We removed all bonuses in the company, and we just increased everyone's wage to the level of what their maximum bonuses would have been. So all the wages went up. Everyone started to focus on the new systems. The adoption of the new systems and engagement with them went up and through the roof. And the weirdest thing is, Alex, the sales doubled in that first year we did that. So
Wow.
now I was shocked. I was not expecting the sales to double through that there. And we're 2 years into that process now, where we still haven't had a incentive structure in place. And we're a company now twice the size after running that experiment. We're twice the amount of people with a complete new tech stack rolled out. So in every single metrics, we doubled. So we're now looking at how do we bring back in incentive structures, but the whole entire baseline has moved up now. So everyone whose wage rose, they also rose up to the occasion. And now we can actually comfortably introduce the incentive structure on top. But how are we going to do it? That's the next thing we're running through now it's not just me deciding, as a leadership group. How do we incentivize to repeat this performance? Because we learn it's not just about throwing money for sales. So
Yeah.
this is all new territory for me, and I always find if I'm in new territory and I'm having to really kind of think and not just roll out the old bangers all the time, this is probably the place I'm meant to be. And if we're trying to move from an organisation that is, well, I suppose the mantra that I had when I got back is this company needs to be more Elliott, less John, more Elliott, less about me and more about the brand. And so I think that's maybe now what we're trying to come up with is that incentive structure for the team moving forward. And we'll probably start to align it to, some more cultural and team values that I think is really driving us forward now.
Oh man, I love that. I love that. That's super valuable, and I like your obviously the systems thinking there, and making sure that you've got the right systems in place, and I guess yeah, the bonuses thing, which led to doubling the sales, doubling the business without really focusing on that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of looking back, over the last 5 years during that journey, or 5 to 10 years, I guess what worked well when it came to those systems.
Yeah. Look, I think there's the constant, because when you're engaging in new systems, you're generally asking people to do more work up front for a better future down the track. Because moving to new systems and learning in new ways, it's not just about the new learning. Generally, when we're migrating and collecting more data, because the more data we collect in the application of our job, the more we can rely on certain automations, AI, etc. down the future. But it's very human-led, obtaining that, putting it in, when you're going from a manual process to a more automated one. So there seems to be that constant battle of, keeping people motivated with the reality of what it looks like to get into the new systems, and then lifting their head occasionally to paint that picture of why we're doing it and what the future looks like. We were trying to rush towards some some quick wins. I knew there was certain departments within the company that were more resilient to be able to handle this process. So I wasn't drawing hard lines on everyone that from this date all these new changes roll out. I would take through the more resilient department, and once we'd kind of got it to a point where we could have a first win really quickly, then we would roll out amongst other departments where they could achieve a win pretty quickly. So we did that pretty strategically. And the other thing that massively changed and accelerated it, I think the way that a lot of organizations train is that they will plan an amazing system, an amazing benefit or automation or whatever it is, and then when they're doing this rollout of this new system or new application within the system, they'll pull everyone in. They'll put a bit of food on, they'll do a nice training day, they'll try and get it all done in a day or two, and then following you leave that meeting, then the new system is in place or the new process is in place, and you're expected from that moment forward to adopt that. And people learn in different ways at different speeds, and we weren't getting much success with that. People will revert back to the old ways pretty quickly. And it was also taking people away from doing their day-to-day job. So if they've got a high workload and you take them out for training, it just seems to be a frustration. So we've got an internal projects manager now that also spends 1 hour every week with every single person in the team for one-on-one training, and they train them in the actual job that they're doing. So they're actually getting work done whilst they're training. A part of it is him teaching the individual with something that's relevant on their table right now, but also it allows my projects team to have a one-on-one and see what's important to each department, each person. And these are the people that are, responsible for being the architect of the whole system. And I think sometimes we get that disconnect between the projects team, the people rolling this out, and the people on the ground actually doing the work, and this here, it doesn't just give 1 hour of training to each team member. It gives 30 hours of training every week to my projects team on what's relevant for how this job is actually, rolled out to the customers, what it's like to do there. So the frustrations, the workload variation, and it's really connected, those teams. So we had a bit of a disconnect between our business services team and our sales team. It was where their income generators, you're the cost center there. And this year, when we've rolled out our votes for the most, the biggest team player in the organisation, every single person that was ranked highest was in the business services team. They've gone from being what are you doing here? You don't generate any sales to we can't live without you. You're amazing. So that was a switch in the last 12 months as well. So, and I think it's that whole, when they're not taking you away from your job to do some useless training that's just getting in the way of your job. This is the team that's sitting beside you in the battle next to you.
No, it's super interesting. I haven't really heard that sort of take before, and a couple of things that you mentioned there previously, but mate, it's obviously working well, which is fantastic, right? And I guess having that time away from the business probably allowed you to think, quite clearly. So I guess in terms of stepping away from the business, what made you do that? Was there anything in particular?
I think I'd gotten out of proving all the nice, fun concepts in starting a business, and it got to the point where it seemed to be more about just pushing a percentage growth figure each year, and I started to switch off. And also, I would see someone in the industry get a 40-year lifetime achievement, and I'm like, I'm happy this being a chapter in my book, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. So I had a bit of a window in my life where there was no debt in the business, didn't have a partner, business was going well, I had a good leadership structure in there, and I was 35, and I was like, there is a window that I have in front of me. That window will close as soon as I make an acquisition, make another commitment or whatever. And I chose to just take on the biggest, gnarliest adventure I possibly could tolerate / survive, and ended up taking a team of 6 camels through every state and territory in Australia. So that took me 4 years to walk, a year to prepare for, and 4 years to walk. So from North Queensland down to the southern tip of Tasmania, and then across 7 of the 10 major deserts through Central Australia. So it's kind of funny when I knew nothing about camels. I literally started by Googling in this office here, how do I buy a camel? So I had no idea what I was doing. And one of the trainers who was teaching me a little bit about camel handling said, look, as you just focus on keeping those camels happy and those camels safe, all right? If the camels are safe, they'll take you across the country. Right? So don't worry less about yourself and worry more about, your team. And, that's kind of been hammered into me for that whole entire, because I did survive. The camels did get us through, and a lot of the time it was just leaning into looking after them. I think I haven't gotten out of that mode since I got back. It's about, providing that the psychology boost up for all of those people in the leadership team, which they can use personally or for, personal development. Which is about providing the absolute best tools that I can for the team. Not making them jump through hoops in order to get the extra commission, looking at what their careers look like ahead. Literally, I'm sitting here in service to every single person in this company and what their careers look like over the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And ultimately, I'll end up benefiting from this. But we've just pushed all the profit into the company. We made 1% profit last year. And depending on how the next 10 days go, we're about 200 grand to get up to zero, and and we'll close up at we're aiming for 0%. So we're just trying to utilize every single cent that we possibly can to back the people and to back the technology that we're building here. And I think everyone kind of knows it. Like, you push everything you can into your team. They're like, oh, well, all right. Well, this is the chance. This is, the Eminem moment, on stage. Then no one wants to choke.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. So I guess in terms of obviously the company pushing all the profits back in and growing the team and making sure that they're successful so that the company can flourish and be successful as well. But I guess what does, you're obviously 2 years into this 3-year plan. What does the next, year to 3 years look like?
Yeah, so with the extra year filling it out there, our aim was to see at the end of the 3 years, what do our systems, what do our team look like? So our change in hiring strategy meant that we probably stepped away from trying to discover mid-level talent. We just hired the best seniors we possibly could. And instead of mid-level talent, we provide amazing systems, but you also started an office in Manila as well to provide a bit of back office support for us. So we were literally just saying, what do we learn on these 3 years as well? We didn't have much of a plan for beyond the 3 years. It's just, let's get through to that 3 years with the biggest team of the best people we can with the best tools available to them. So now 2 years in, we know that all those people need to be fed. Like I said, it can't just be me now going out there. The team's getting too big for me to fill that funnel. So we're starting to do some long tail work on what those sales funnels look like. So we've got a dormant database. I think I told you when we first caught up, I got 50,000 in the database that everyone was too scared to email because it might involve more work. So we'll kick a few of those old databases alive. That'll only get us so far, and then it's starting to feed that funnel. So we're starting to look at the long tail, AI search, SEO, which is kind of good. People want to work on those long tail kind of things in their business, because just turning to immediate feed the beast SEM, paid advertising there, I think it's a very short term approach. If you've got the ability to start investing into creating really quality content, getting in front of the AI search kind of wave, which is going to happen pretty damn quickly, and building those future funnels into the business, I think that'll be my next game, that I'll be really running pretty hard at.
Ah, awesome. So in terms of, I guess, your journey so far, mate, if there's, I guess, maybe one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self maybe earlier on when you were just starting the company, what would that be?
Yeah, I get I get asked this one a little bit, uh, and I had a lot of time to think in the 5 years as you're strolling along, and I, I chased a lot of very material kind of things, but I don't think I could have put myself through that hell of startup if I didn't have a couple of shiny objects in front of me. Um, and I was lucky that I got enough success uh, early enough to kind of realize, oh, maybe it's not that, and go off for a little bit of a walk and have a think. So uh, I just think so many people don't even get to the first point to even take the first step. Whatever story you have to tell yourself, whatever you do, like that's fine. Don't let anyone kind of shape that story, that startup vision or whatever it is, because that'll just get you in learning, making the mistakes, fucking up. It gets you at the table. And once you're at the table, you're journeying there like a bad gambler for life, just trying to figure out what the next thing is. So, yeah. So no, no, lean into it, fuck up, make all the mistakes. It's bloody good fun.
Love it, John. Love it, mate. And obviously, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about, what your company does, how you might be able to help them, where's the, best place for them to go?
Yeah, look, jump straight through. Oh, we've got two main divisions of the company. So all your business and general insurance goes through Elliott Insurance, but we've got a whole entire trade and construction specialist team. Any subbies, any contractors, plant machinery operators, mining subcontractors, through to alltradescover.com.au.
Awesome, John. Thanks for your time.
No dramas.